G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. Oh yes, got an exciting day today. I've added 2 mods to my game. One of them is an image pack mod that I've made so that I can put some stuff up on the LCDs, and the other is something a little more unique. Something that is well beyond my ability to make, and has very kindly been made for Capac and I by Chipstix. Chipstix you might know from mods such as the... Oh, hang on. From mods such as the little red dinosaurs on the alien planet or the rock monsters on Mars. He's made a whole bunch of character mods, and there is one very exciting character mod for Capac and I. And here is the reveal. Oh yeah, this little guy. Steve is now a character mod. And if I go over to Steve's computer and try and bring the microphone kind of with me, I can then move Steve around. And he kind of does this weird, like, walking motion, which I love. So, now it is time for him to sit in his chair on top of the Remora so that he can record the time-lapse for today. No, not the cockpit. If we have a look, he is actually perfectly sitting in that chair. This is just awesome, Chipstix. This is so cool. Oh, man. For those of you wondering, the medbay is on that list because I had to use, briefly, creative mode tools to build one to get Steve in. Because obviously I had to change his suit in the game. What? Ah! Oxygen. I am not in creative anymore. So, now that I've shown off Steve's new bod, I am going to show off what I've done with the LCDs. But to do that, what I want to do is actually get rid of the clear LCDs that I put out here. I want to use a widescreen one because I think the shape works better for a poster. I might leave this transparent one in there, and if I think of putting something on there, I will. But I've actually laid out my designs for a wide, which is the text panel. Would it make more sense to have it against the wall here? Yeah, I'll stick it on the wall for now. Anyway. So what we need to do is rotate this until the online is vertical, and then go to our text and images. And all the way at the bottom of our images, we've got a hang in there, a friends of Steve, and an only you. And let's change them every 2 seconds. Just for now. There we go. These, well, that's a bit quick. Let's change them every 5 seconds. I just want to change it enough that I'll see multiple of them as we go. But there we go, we've got the hang in there, we've got friends don't steal oxygen. And we've got only you can prevent clone loss. So these are some of the suggestions that I was given last week after asking for them, and I reckon they've turned out pretty well. I've got more plans to add more LCD images to this pack, but this was just what I thought would be a solid start to get things going. This mod is available on the workshop if you want to have your own posters like this up in your base. And I'm going to be adding to that particular mod from time to time whenever I manage to work on some other images. And then I've got a special one for this TV, which I thought was a really cool suggestion someone gave to add something a little bit like an actual TV would have. And so, some of you may recognize this scene from Light Echoes. And what I've done is I've just paused it on YouTube so that I've got the little overlay. So it looks like someone was sitting here and had to hit pause as they went off to do something. There we go, we've got something on the TV now. Which I reckon makes it look much better. I feel like this could be a good way for me to add a fair bit of color around the base without having to paint lots of stuff. And it is also always a nice way of adding detail by putting stuff on these LCDs. Nuts. I was hoping this was an LCD and I could change what it says on there. Oh well, I'll leave it at Clan Cola, that makes some sense. Last week I said the main building thing I had to do today was going to be building the escape pod system. Now I might have to hold off on that. And I have a very good reason for that, and it is very exciting. The reason I'm going to hold off on it is that Keen are finally updating the collision meshes of small grid blocks and a bunch of the other blocks in the game to more closely match their visual appearance. So, as an example of what I mean, if I were to drop this box there, if we then grab our jetpack and I scoot over, you can see it's actually hovering. And that's because the collision mesh of that armor cube is bigger than the cube itself. I always thought this was something that they were probably not going to be able to fix. But it turns out, in the next major update, which there is a test version available for people to look at already, that's not the case. There's no bigger collision meshes anymore. Which means I could build something with some incredibly cool opening mechanisms, like a ramp or something like that on the escape pod. I kind of want to do that, but I was also really nervous about updating Survival Impossible to the experimental version, given that it could break my save. So I was torn, but what I think is the best thing for me to do is leave the escape pods until we've got access to that in the main branch. And what I'll probably do is jump on Twitch and test out some designs so that once I'm ready, once the release is ready, I can just jump in there, build an awesome escape pod, and even test it properly in-game. So my plans for today, instead of doing the escape pod, are to launch as much iron as I can down to the planet and finish off everything else, as well as building the kind of infrastructure around which the escape pods will be the infrastructure the escape pods will be launched from. As I think that'll probably give me enough to do, and potentially even launching myself back to the planet if I've run out of things to do, because I'm going to need to be coming back up here anyway, so I can always come up here and build the escape pod on my next visit. And how are we doing down here? Oh, amazing! I hit the iron pretty well. That's going to be a very good supply. I'm very happy. How much are we looking at launching? Because I think it's going to be maybe 12 or so launches at the moment. Oh, and we've accumulated stone. How much iron have we got? Ingots. Wow. 744,000 kilograms of iron ingots. Right. Guess we should start the launching system quickly. I'm almost tempted to see if I can automate it so that I can have the launching kind of running without my interaction with some timer blocks. Maybe I should try that. So, let's do a manual launch first. Confirm it's still landing where I want it to. And then I'm going to start setting up the timer blocks to automate this so that I can just leave it and watch until I've launched maybe 15, 20 of them. Alright, so let's do this thing. Terminal. TB. Catapult release, TB1. Start. Oh yeah, that's a good launch. That looked great. Now, a few people mentioned that an alternative system for me getting control over where this goes, if this doesn't end up where I think it will, is to use a sensor and a grid somewhere that as the sensor picks up that point, it then triggers everything, because then I can get an accurate trigger without having to use any sort of scripting or anything like that. And if that launch doesn't go where I need it to, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to hop into watching the pod to see this go the whole way down. Things are looking pretty good for another near-home landing. I'm curious if I'm going to land right on top of that other pod. I'm feeling like my launching system isn't accurate enough to get that kind of pinpoint accuracy that I'm going to actually squash another pod. But I am wondering if I'm within a reasonable margin of it. There's the base. And obviously the old pod has run out of power. Okay, 430 meters away, so I'm not right on top of the previous one, but I'm still fairly close. So a few people had mentioned the idea of me building some sort of grinding pit to catch these so that it automatically grinds and collects everything from them, but I just don't think I'm going to be that accurate. Wait, is FE dropped the previous one? It's something. I can't remember what I actually did for that GPS. I think it was the previous one. So I'm pretty close, but yeah, definitely not on top, definitely not grinder worthy. I'm going to need a vehicle to bring these back to wherever I collect their resources. Which I'm kind of happy about, because then I get to build another vehicle that does lifting stuff. Which is kind of, well, something I enjoy. Now, what I need to do to automate this is set up a timer to trigger the launch. That's kind of it. And then set the final one to trigger that timer. Huh, that's easy. So the delay, let's put it to something. I want to give myself a comfortable time to make sure that the assembler is going to make the parts fast enough. Because I could deplete my parts too quickly if I make this launch too fast. So let's go with, let's try 60 seconds. So the setup actions on this will be, TB, it's going to start that one. Then, release TB number 7. After it's done all these resets, it's going to start the launcher delay. And now, that creates a full loop. So, if I hit, well, let's get in a position I can see stuff. And also, let's watch this from close for once. Maybe start. Alright. So, now I can start this thing. Bam. Whoa. Okay, it's off. Sending another one down to the planet. That'll come back. All get welded up. Timer that locks the connector should do that shortly. And then, let's just have a look and see if the drop pod has collected enough iron. And that's still not full. Okay, now it's full. So TB, if we go to our launcher delay, that's got 15 seconds left. Okay, I think that's a decent buffer. Hopefully that'll prevent too many problems. The exciting thing about this is, how close are these going to be to each other? That one's 5Ks out. When's the next launch happening? It should be happening shortly. Oops. Yep. There we go. There's like 5 or 6K separation. That's not too bad. A few of you will probably have noticed that I did not need that timer block that I added in there. I added it in because I like the idea of having the ability to stop this and have a quick start that still has a short delay before it actually launches, so I can click the start rather than click a trigger now and then watch the launch, because it's kind of more fun for me. Whereas if I'd just used the one timer block, I would have had to use a trigger now to launch it manually. Just from a showing you guys what I see point of view. So that's why I did the excess, the unnecessary timer block. Come on, launch. Launch! Let's see, this is working. There we go. Sweet. Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, how much iron have we got? I'm going to need to keep an eye on that because I don't have any automated system to turn this off. But it looks like I'm collecting so much at the moment that it's not going to be an issue. Those pods are going to be just working in the background. Must remember to move Steve's camera once it becomes daylight down there so I can watch all the drops come in from his point of view. Check that out though. 3 of them on the way. That's cool. That's really cool. I love that. Time to fix up some decorations around here. I noticed there were some incorrectly placed railings over here. Oh, that is so cool watching those get relaunched. There's going to be so many of them down there when I get down there. I'm just thinking about it. I would normally record for about 2 hours. So at the current rate, that's going to be about 100 of them launched. And I think there's even a small chance that, oh no, I'll run out of iron long before that. Maybe I'll end up with 30 or 40 down there. I hope they don't damage each other. guess we'll find out at some point. This is glorious. This is exactly what I was hoping this would do. So, there's not a lot for me to do around here, given that I'm waiting to make the escape pods until the update. And that means I will probably head down to the planet today, rather than holding it off, and have to test out the escape pods on another visit. I feel that's kind of fine, given that I'm running a little bit low on the old food and water now anyway. I haven't made any food and water production facilities up here. For one slightly... it's a little bit of an annoying reason. I tend to go into the production menu a fair bit, and there's something that happens with daily needs blocks. Sometimes they decide that they want to be the most high priority production block. And I don't like that. I like my big proper assembler to be the main production block. So when I go into, and I'll show you guys in a second, the production menu, in here, I want my assembler to be the block. Because if I'm going to order something up quickly, I want to have minimal clicks. What I've found with daily needs is it will often put its blocks higher in this list, so when I open up anywhere, it'll show up. Which is also why the food truck is a separate grid down on the planet. Because that prevents that issue altogether. Now, the behavior isn't consistent, so I don't know if it's something about the daily needs blocks themselves, or if it's something just about the way Keen handles assemblers in general. Love that launch going in the background. So I don't know if it's something that Scalabion can even fix. But it's just one of those things that I find a little bit frustrating, so I separate them on separate grids. So if I'm going to build food productions up here, they won't be attached to the base. But I kind of feel like I don't need to, given how little food and water we use. I'll just bring up decent supplies when I next visit. Alright, so looking around the place, what do I need to do to make it feel complete? I'm going to need a whole bunch of LCD images, so they're probably going to have to be done on a future visit up here. Another successful launch. And the catwalks around here I'm pretty happy with. There's not a lot I need to change. I'm happy with the launcher, there aren't details there. My lighting in general, I'm pretty happy with, though someone pointed out I need to improve the lighting on the landing pad since it should be a brightly lit spot, and it's currently one of the darkest. I need to finish welding those railings, and I need to finish the oxygen farms. So let's do that before I move on to other projects. Oh, hold up. Given I'm building stuff, I am going to slow down the launcher delay. Because if I start using up materials, there's going to be a higher chance that things could go wrong. So let's spread that out to 2 minutes. Don't want a drop pod to go off half full, or half made even. That'd be worse. And it is very possible for them to go off half made because I've been chewing through all the resources for my construction. In fact, if I'm being really sensible, I should probably just turn off the auto launch for a bit. I don't want to. For the solar panels and the oxygen farms, I think what I'm going to do is bring these out so that I can put another 2 solar panels in a row on each side. I tend to not go for full thickness panels like I have here. As in, I tend to try and make the shape a bit more than just a square, and I feel like this is going to be the best way in this particular instance. I'm wondering when I'm going to get bored of seeing that stuff launch in the background. Because it hasn't happened yet. I'm just loving seeing that happen. Alright, I've just paused the launcher since now that I'm having to build the solar panel parts, it is going to completely mess up my production with the assembler, so that'll just pause for a moment, and then as soon as I've done these, I will hopefully be able to get it up and running again, even while I continue construction. It feels kind of strange to have a thing that I've built in survival in a series get complete before the series is complete, like a base. Because when I think about, like, survival maybe especially, I didn't complete that until the very, very end. And this space is actually going to be complete and then still be useful. Which is seriously cool. Not what I'd intended, and very much done by luck, but I'm really happy with it. Like, yeah, I know there are going to still be a couple of little minor adjustments, but even that level of completion is unusual for me in these survival games. And there we have it. Completed solar and oxygen array. I don't get the impression I'm going to need more than that, especially since I won't live up here long term. If I was living up here long term, I'd check more carefully with the oxygen, but because I'm going to be producing so much when I'm down at the planet or when I'm flying off somewhere else, using this as my starting base, I think it'll be quite... well, it'll be more than adequate. Have a look in these oxygen tanks. How much have they got in them already? Almost 5,000 litres each. So that should go pretty well, I think. How are we doing over here? Drills are off. We're most of the way through the iron deposit. And most of the way through the asteroid again. And how are the iron supplies looking? 563,000. Alright, time to resume launching activity. Launch delay. Trigger now. Start. Oh. No. Ah. Stop. I think I stopped that just in time for it to get triggered again. Alright, stairs down to the bottom. I'm going to bring them off here on this X. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense to have the escape route being a fair distance from the exits, but I feel this also puts the escape route about halfway between the two airlocks. So if one of the airlocks is damaged or something like that, you can easily use the alternate and still get to the escape pods quickly. That sounds like a really bad excuse, but it's the best I've got, so I'm sticking with it. And then what I'm going to do is put a landing there so that I can create a catwalk wall there, giving you an attachment for the stairs there, so I don't have to use my new favorite block being the little piece of our neon lights. I don't know if this is going to look any good now that I've realized how little distance I had to go. I thought I had to go further than that. Well, yeah, that kind of works, I think. You run down here, run down. Quick, quick, quick. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy enough with that. I'm gonna have to leave this fairly open concept so that I've got plenty of room to play with once I come down with the escape pod design. Oh yeah. It's still not getting old. That's still not getting old to me. Every launch seems to have gone off without a hitch so far, which is incredibly comforting. Since I'm probably going to end up doing some remote launches. Which reminds me, I do need to set up a bunch of cameras around the place. Thankfully, using Digi's camera panning mod, I won't need to set up any sort of funky rotor setups to be able to control them. I can just use that. But I do want to have cameras able to see everything so I can monitor it. And I guess once I've welded this up, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm seriously tempted to see how far I can get with the Remora into space to see if I can check out another asteroid with what remains of its hydrogen stores, because it's got 20%, so there's a chance I could be able to get far enough out. Launch myself up, see if I can get to an asteroid or two, and then head back down to the planet, landing so that next time I can focus on building a forklift and start taking some suggestions on how you think it might be best to get up here with a refueling type vehicle. My dream would be that this will be the last time the Remora heads back down to the surface. I kind of like the idea of using it to explore the asteroids from here after I get some fuel kind of sent up. The Remora is quite a heavy vehicle, and I really love the style, so even though it's not the most efficient way for me to go searching the asteroids, I kind of want to keep using it. For sentimental reasons more than anything else. No. Just had a thought. The new collisions. They might let me do something with the Remora that will be really cool for its position on this landing pad. So, right now, I can't put a piston underneath here to connect to that connector because it'll clang against all of these blocks around it. But if it fits with the new system, I could bring it down to the perfect height so that the Remora can connect, but these little fins are touching the ground, which will bring it down to a much more reasonable height Oh, yes. And then this is the Remora's launch pad, and I create another connection pad for the refueler. Yes, I like this plan. I also like the idea, ooh, of using hinges and advanced rotors to build a fuel line that's not square to the grid. It goes and wraps around the asteroid and comes down to here. Because maybe I could connect this bit of the base, the old base, as my refueling depot, since I got that nice big cave in there. And the refueling tug doesn't land up here, but lands underneath. Ooh. Could probably do that today, build that fuel line. Alright. It's taken me about half the recording, but I've finally decided what I'm going to do today. I am going to keep letting these things launch iron down to the planet, which reminds me how much we've got left. Am I still good? 350,000 left. Yep, good. Means we sent down about 400,000. So keep sending that down. I've built all the catwalks that I need to build around here now, for the time being. Build this fuel line. Take the Remora to a few more asteroids to see if I can scout them out. And then head back to the surface to build a forklift next time. Oh, cameras. Need cameras too. Can't forget the cameras. Must do the cameras. I do like this plan. Because I really did like that kind of cave feel down there, and I reckon bringing the refueling tug there will be kind of cool. So my plan with this conveyor system is to use a combination of rotors and hinges so that I can kind of create something that's unusual for space engineers in that it doesn't follow the grid. And I'd really like to try and do more things like this around my builds if I can get away with them. So start with the advanced rotor. On that, place a hinge. And that's going to allow me to pass a conveyor line in whatever direction I need to try and get closer to the other base. And might go with 6, and then I'll go back to another hinge. Except this time I'll just build the hinge part, because the hinge will be mounted onto a stationary base. But I need to build the functional parts of this so I can work out where to put that. This is going to be a somewhat convoluted procedure in order to just get an interesting looking conveyor system, but I think it'll be worth it. And it also will hopefully be a nice bit of practice for me using a similar system down on the planet to hook up the buildings down there. My idea being that then I don't have to have the buildings all on a grid either. I can have them offset from one another however I like, or however I think will work, which should be kind of cool. This is going to be fiddly as. Oh, no, that's good. That looks pretty good. Let's see if it'll attach. Yeah! Sweet! Look at that! We're there. Don't know whether I'm helping or making things worse. Let's just leave it. They're all static grids, so the clang shouldn't be too horrible, I hope. Hopefully this doesn't explode on like a game load or something like that. I was just thinking, with the distances I'm going to have to move around, it might be smart if the next junction I do is actually a small cargo container. Because then I'll be able to grab required parts without having to fly all the way back to the base. But even like, just looking at the base... Oh, low hydrogen, don't do that! Let's start that sentence when I have full hydrogen in my bottles. So, what I was going to say was, even looking at that small segment, it's a nice little breaking up of the grid. It'd be nicer if I had more of them, but considering the effort that goes into it, it would be a bit excessive for me to do it on everything, or even on a lot of things. I feel like I'm tempting fate building this right at the end of this journey, when I'm so very... Oh, I don't want to build too many containers because the grids. I'm so close to heading home, and I'm doing probably one of the more dangerous building things that I've done, because me and hinges, rotors, pistons, I get kind of focused. The chances of me messing up and not realizing I'm about to run out of hydrogen are substantially increased. And it would be so horrible to fall down to the planet just before I was about to head home anyway. Oh dear. Oh, did not think that would be able to happen. I just had the two hinge parts inside of each other. It's not ideal. Something I hadn't fully thought about, but is actually going to end up being potentially kind of cool. Because I've built this the way that I have, and because I'm putting lights on each segment, this will be a nice little snaking light you see around the asteroid as you approach or as you fly away from it. I think as my hydrogen is low, I'm going to fly back anyway. But you can see how much of the asteroid is now getting lit up. The point where this thing is going to get tricky is when I have to link it up to the other base, because I won't have the option of just sticking the other bit wherever I want. And it may end up either having to use small grid parts so that I can use frames and get reasonably accurate like that, which isn't too big an issue, or I may have to use a piston or two. But I will figure that out once I'm a bit closer, but I'm getting there. I've turned off all of the launches for the moment because I'm using up so much in the way of resources for these conveyor tubes that it just wasn't really going to be sensible to keep trying to launch when I was probably going to end up with something that wouldn't end up having parachutes. So the way I've been getting these to line up is bringing a cube out, getting it to snap so that it's lined up correctly with the oncoming hinge, and then bring it out until it's about in line with the block, probably about there. Then I put a second one down, and on that I can place my conveyor junction or my cargo container, because that should be lined up well enough that the hinge will tolerate any push off from that direction. So then we can place a hinge, which will clang that hinge part into it. Then this should attach. Yeah. That one was a bit more stretched than I'd done some of the others. Like, you can see how much I've pulled that out of alignment. But hopefully that is still going to be okay, because again, both ends of this subgrid are attached to a fixed static grid. So hopefully nothing goes wrong there. It certainly is possible for it to all go horribly wrong there. Mainly on game load, I think. When it's trying to figure out where things should be, some of these could explode. I'm hoping they don't, but I've certainly seen it happen before. Obviously, back at the start, I said a few times that I wasn't going to build a fuel line like this because it seemed like it was excessive, but I did not expect to get the level of resources I was getting here, that I've gotten here. It has well and truly exceeded my greatest expectations. Like, I'm not even going to bother hunting for iron on the planet anymore. Still got to set up a magnesium mine and a nickel mine properly, though. Okie dokie. Now for the tricky bit. I think the best way to perhaps to do this would be start with a piston and... not a piston, start with a rotor and hinge on the bit that I've already built. Bit that's got power. So I'll be able to move them around. Although that grid does have a little bit of power. Advanced rotor, another hinge, and then see where I can get that in relation to this little tube here. If I can hook it up to that tube, then I'm locked to that grid, and then I've only got regular building to do after that, which is easy. I'm not too fussed about doing the full hookup with the extra drill down here yet, but it'll be something that I've at least got set up for me, so that if I do need more materials and I've run out of the iron that's been mined so far, I've got it all good to go. Oh no. No, 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 no.
Fuel low.
Oh dear. Oh dear. How to solve this problem? Oh, Splitsie, why? Why did you do this to yourself?
Energy
I don't think I
low.
left the stuff down here because I wasn't going to come back. I did! Thank you, Past Splitsie. Saving me. Oh, man. Oh, I can't believe it. Thank you, the person that suggested that I build that little thing to store some spare hydrogen in. Oh, man. That would have been a disaster. I didn't have enough power to drill my way back. And oh, wow. That could have ended so badly. I can't believe it. Oh, I'm going to be putting that hydrogen back. And this is why I read the comments and listen to the suggestions that save me, ow, from dying. At least for the things that you guys can actually help me save myself from. Oh boy. Hydrogen goes back in. Because I have a feeling that's going to be used again. Oh, right. I'm going to need a rotor in the middle of this thing. Because there's a twist on it. Hadn't thought about that twist. It does look like the length's going to be pretty much spot on. Let's get rid of that. Put the rotor in the middle. In fact, the rotor in the middle is going to allow some of that length adjustment that I might need too. That'll be helpful. Kind of forgot that I'd generated a bit of twist as I went along. This is going to be fiddly. So fiddly. Come on. Come on. Oh, is that going to be enough? Let's maximally displace this. See if that'll attach. Yes! Yes, the two bases are connected. Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah. Hydrogen is low. Let's head back to the base. What a fuel line for an eventual refuel ship. Right, let's finish welding it up. Oh, I just kind of had a bit of an epiphany. I guess. Not really an epiphany. I just can't think of the word that I'm looking for. Basically, I probably shouldn't be heading back down to the planet with the Remora. The Remora should stay here. I should make a custom drop pod and just launch myself down. Leave the Remora here, so that when I next come up, I'm coming up with my planned refuel ship, which will connect up to something under here, and allow the Remora to be refueled for going out and searching for more ores. That's what I should be doing. Oh, I kind of wonder... I kind of wonder if I should just make a custom drop pod just for one trip and launch myself down to the planet. Because I want to build the proper escape pods next time, and I don't really want to build infrastructure around them that's not going to work for my ultimate design once I've got access, once we've got access to the smaller collision meshes. So maybe the Remora stays. Ooh, it's kind of sad because obviously the Remora's boosters will then just be a museum relic. Although I could design the fuel lifter ship to take advantage of them, couldn't I? Yeah. Now that the fuel line's done, I'm going to fly the Remora away from the asteroid and see if I can get to the edge of space and scout out some resources before returning back to this asteroid to land to build myself a cockpit on an ore drop pod to launch myself down to the planet. That's the finale for the episode. So, let's see how much fuel I use. I need to make sure that once I get down to about 14%, I am heading back. If I mess this up, what I'm going to do is just launch myself at the planet and I'll have to come back up to the launch air with the Remora and then launch separately in a fuel tug, but we'll see how we go. So it's not a disaster if I mess this up, but it's not ideal. It's been so long since I flew this, I don't remember the controls. Alright, we've got one locked connector. We've got our dampeners off. I've brought my food into the cockpit. Let's bring Steve back. Okay. Dampeners on, unlocked. Let's go. Dampeners off. Use 1%. Just kind of coast out. I think if I'm really cautious about my fuel use, I should be good doing this for a little while. I didn't want to play around in gravity because that's going to lead me to have a much higher chance of things going wrong. I kind of want to see how much fuel it takes me to reach the edge of the gravity well of Omicron. 2% fuel used. I may want to turn off my antennas. There's another gravity asteroid. Not going to check it out. I think this will be a great staging post for the Remora. I really quite like the idea of exploring with the Remora because it has that safety feature of being able to detach the command module, leaving the main stage as a decoy. So if I run into anything nasty in space, I can drop it, run back. And I think there's a small chance the command module should be able to land at that base. What does slightly concern me is the potential for the base once I'm in space to attract reavers. That could be a problem. Hopefully I don't run into any. We're almost in space. Should be about 50k. There we go, in space. 0 Gs. Can I spot an asteroid to head toward? Hold up a second. Is this my character's first time to space, or did I come up in the Remora manned and head to space? I don't think I did. I think this is my character's first time in space. Cool. At least I know that, like, because I can hop out of the cockpit and get back in, if there are asteroids around here, they should show up for me. I am not seeing any at all. And my fuel is kind of on the low side of where I'd like it to be. So I may abandon this mission soon if I don't find at least one asteroid to look at. What if I try and make my escape pod a return shuttle? So it sort of doubles as both. That might allow me to feel justified in building something a bit more extravagant. And I'll use the boosters to help... What the... Okay, kind of forgot that I had economy mode, at least partially on this save. There's a military escort there. Cool, I guess. It's thankfully neutral and not a reaver. At least now if a reaver does spawn, hopefully it'll go after the military escort instead of me. Cool. The things you forget when you set up a world. I had intended to turn economy off, but I think there is one base somewhere on the planet. But oh well. I'm not going to use it even when I find it. But I may add more NPC mods once I'm better established to get to space. I've been thinking about adding corruption in, though with Lucas constantly teasing about him doing an overhaul of that, I was tempted to wait until he did that. And that's not rushing you, Lucas. Take your time. I have plenty of distractions before I need to add something like that. Plus, the assertive mods are getting a full overhaul anyway, so they're going to be giving me potentially a bit of some more interesting interactions once I'm back down on the planet. Alright, back in gravity well. Oh. Okay, base is in range. Let's start slowing down then. I think. Maybe not just yet. Ooh. Don't want to get hit by a drop pod. Kind of coming in from a bad angle, aren't I? Alright, let's turn on the dampeners. Okay, definitely should have done that before. Not slowing down fast enough. My return trajectory wasn't too bad though. No, I'm slowing down fast enough. Okay, let's get out of line of the catapult because I was in line with it for a second there. I mean, very awkward. There we are. Safely returned. Which means it is time. Let's turn off the drop pod launcher. And I am going to add me a cockpit. And probably just a cockpit. And launch myself down to the planet. Oh no, wait. No, not just a cockpit. I am going to add me a cockpit and some more parachutes. Because it's not quite enough. Oh wait, that's upside down. Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, it's going to have to be upside down. Because I can't fit anything in elsewhere. Ooh, hold up. I'm going to need to bring a lot of oxygen bottles with me because I'm going to have to walk all the way back from wherever I land. And because this is a different mass, I could end up in a very different spot. So, let's make a few extra bottles and fill that cockpit to the brim. Also, I appear to have run out of water. It is time to head home then. Okay, that's maximum bottles. I don't need to take hydrogen bottle down to the planet with me because I can't use it anyway. I can get another bottle. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And a little bit of water and food. Okay, let's do this thing. Hopefully those parachutes shoot. Hopefully they have canvases in them. Yep. Set them all to auto-deploy. That's the other thing. Okay. Oh, hang on. No, I gotta bring Steve back with me. Can't leave him up here. Okay, Steve can sit there. Let's go grab him. Now, this makes me really glad that I did build all these stairs, because Steve does not have a jetpack. So he has to walk all the way up. How am I going to get him up there? It's going to be interesting. Can I get up onto the hinge? Oh, no. Yes, on the hinge. Okay. And jump. And should be able to jump over the cockpit. No, not too far, no! Steve! Ah, at least he didn't fall off all the way to the planet. I'm kind of having some fun doing this with Steve properly rather than doing it in just cheating and teleporting him with spectator cam. And for those of you wondering, the reason my mic is funny right now is because I hopefully will be showing Steve's perspective at the moment. And his computer is 90 degrees offset from mine, so the microphone doesn't point at me properly. There we go. Steve's in his chair. Steve, why don't you just watch from first person? Let's get down to the planet before I run out of food and water. Catapult release. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. On our way down. Oh yeah, look at that view of the asteroid. Oh, I love the fuel line, it actually worked out really well. I will see you soon, Lawn Chair Base. I will see you soon. I can't believe I'm heading down without the Remora. This could be pure insanity. This could go so very, very wrong. Look at those lights on the ground. Several have made it at least. Oh, hold up. Oh no, there are ore drop pods coming down after me. Ah, that's... Uh-oh, that could be problematic. Hopefully they don't come down too much after me. I seem to be falling a fair bit shorter than where they are, thankfully. Oh man. I don't think I set my parachutes enough above where theirs will deploy to be an issue. I kind of forgot that I'd started the loop again. I might... I'll turn it off next time, if I remember. First time I hear one of these just crashing into the ground, I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't turn that off last time. Probably should have. Oh, there are so many drop pods down here. This is going to be amazing. Oh, tree! Tree! Okay, I'm happy enough with that. Oh. And my hydrogen's out.
Critical.
Alright, let's get back to base. Quick, quick, quick. Let's count how many we see along the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, half of 1, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Uh-oh. That's a lot of broken ones. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop the launches. I've lost count as well. Oh. Okay, I'm losing a lot of them. That's not good. Oh. Hopefully there's enough iron that's made it here, though. Requesting assistance. No! Go away! Oh, no! Did a drone... No, please don't drone. Please don't drone. Not while I'm running back to base. Not while there are drop pods still coming in. Oh, I bet it didn't like that drop pod coming past. Kind of forgot that I could have gotten shot up as I was coming back then, too. That could have been a horrible way to die. Oh. Kind of funny, though. But here we are. Back home. Look at it. Feels like home. So next time, I am going to build a forklift. And try and collect a bunch of these things so that I can bring them back to the base and start using the iron to finish off these two buildings. Because I want to get this construction yard airtight in order to build the refueling ship inside. So there's all that and plenty more to come. And I will see you then.